Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, good evening, welcome to another episode by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is going to be such a struggle.
Oh my!
Already. I've got a glass of water here. What a day we had yesterday, boys. I'm out of practice. Honestly, I didn't realise 8 weeks of no football could do this to your vocal cords. And obviously, copious amounts of crap Budweiser at Wembley Stadium. Dan, how's your voice?
Yeah, I think it's probably not as bad as yours, but I've been struggling all day. It's got better. This morning, the first sort of pitch it came out was very high-pitched, squeaky and broken on my work calls. So it's been a struggle today.
And just to answer Sarah's request on there, Trevor is opening up his own OnlyFans channel because, Martin Odegaard has taken a picture of this man with his tats out. I said tats. So he's having an OnlyFans channel. I'm sure he will take all donations on there as much as you like. Alex, thank you very, very much for doing all the prep work because I've done some, but you've done the hard hours on this one. Thank you. How did you enjoy the game?
I very much enjoyed the game. I was doing the player ratings for the Gooner fan scene as well, so I was sat home in my living room watching the game, screaming at the telly. But yeah, it was just good seeing Arsenal play at the Wembley again in a game that mattered. And yeah, I'm just buzzing to get the season back underway. Can't wait for next weekend.
And you're here on Friday, ready for the game early kickoff on Saturday. We'll talk about that afterwards.
We will, yeah.
Trevor, it seems like maybe 12 hours since I saw you last.
Yeah, it does. Maybe it is only 12 hours, Ferg. Did we go to a game yesterday? I can't remember.
I think we did.
Hanging out of my backside now. I sort of had up a bit earlier, but now I'm gone. I'm done. This old man is finished. Drunk myself into oblivion and yeah, but I'll tell you what, wouldn't change it for the world, boys. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. In case anybody's got some dodgy broadband or anything else, please do not adjust your settings. He is ginger and he's got a tan. This is a rare beast of a thing. Tell us about this. Forget about the football. Tell us about this ginger tan thing. How did that happen? Does it come out of a bottle? Please.
Fergus, you could push a saint to swearing. You could. I won't swear. I'll save that for Alex. We know he likes to drop a C-bomb every now and again. I've been away in the sun, so proof that redheads can get a bit of a tan. I can show you my white bits if you want me to prove them.
No. You've been offering that all day yesterday. We refused. Now you're doing it on the internet. Look, go to Trevor's OnlyFans thing.
That's not what you were begging for me to show you white bits yesterday.
Listen, what we did spot you yesterday in the pub, consorting with the enemy. You were there with a Man City fan, comparing notes, and I thought you were going to sign for City, to be honest, yesterday afternoon. I really did.
To be honest, that's quite an aggressive stance. So as you can see, my approach towards City, it wasn't a welcoming stance. So no need to doubt my loyalty there, Fergus.
Okay. So, Alex, thankfully you've done some work on this. We talk about the lineup. So there were some question marks about Arteta's first lineup of the season. There's a lot of rotations through pre-season. And with the first game, he had to pick the strongest 11 with Gabriel Jesus out for a few weeks. Was it going to be Eddie? Was it going to be Trossard? Was it going to be Havertz? And who was going to replace him? It ended up being Havertz up top. What were your thoughts on that front lineup, please, Alex?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, there was quite a lot of rotation throughout the pre-season. I think different to last season, where he pretty much played. We pretty much knew our strongest 11 last season throughout pre-season, whereas this season he did rotate quite a lot. He He's played Havertz in midfield as an 8. Obviously now with Jesus injured, I was wondering if he was going to stick to playing Havertz as an 8 or put him up top, which he ended up doing. So that was quite interesting to see him using Havertz up there, and then obviously to see all of our 3 new signings play, Timber, Rice, and Havertz as well, and to see Rice in a sort of double pivot with Partey was interesting as well. I think you have to look at it and to see, like, this seems like to be Arteta's preferred starting 11 going into the season, bar Gabriel Jesus. But I think there's a Belgian guy knocking on the door to come into the starting 11. I think we'll go over that later.
We will do. Listen, we talk about the importance and the build up to the day and what the day was to us. We did do a little clip, and then we'll come back to Havertz, and so we did do a little clip for the Highbury squad for Sophie, and this was myself, Dan, and Trev. We've had a few, and we've already rocked the Metropolitan line from Liverpool Street to Wembley Park. Have a listen to this.
Hurry up! It's for Sophie and Kev. What are you talking about? Hurry up!
Sorry, Kev.
He's had his
I need a beer.
He's had 2 beers.
We're at Wembley.
Yeah, we're at Wembley.
Not for the first time this season. We will be back.
Hopefully 4 times.
No, we will be back. We will get 4 times. Yeah, we can do that.
But listen, back at Wembley, we're reaching out. Guns and Yellow Ribbons reaching out to Highbury squad. Great to see everybody. We're looking forward to this game. I don't really care about the result.
I don't care about it. I'm back with the lads. I'm back having a beer with the lads. The social has restarted. That'll do it for me. I don't care what it's like today. Next week it's serious. Today it's beer and a laugh.
And Dan, that train journey up from Liverpool Street.
My hand hurts a bit. So loud, you boys.
That's personal. Don't talk about that. We already had a take 2.
It's too noisy, you boys.
I'll tell you what. I am so impressed with your tan. How well it matches your hair. It's just like, it's almost coordinated.
Redheads do tan. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not getting involved in this.
He's an Irishman, he's never had a tan in his life.
What are we looking at score-wise?
I don't care.
Don't care.
Don't get humiliated. Go in with confidence
saying,
next week.
don't care.
It's about the social. It's about meeting up with mates.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Don't get injured.
A competitive game, no injuries for me.
Yeah,
Well, I think we'll win today.
No, I don't care.
I don't care. I don't think we will. I think probably City might be that little bit better because we're missing Jesus as well, which is, they're talking about 4, 6, 10 weeks.
Got Eddie.
Right.
Oh yeah, you've got Eddie. We're all
Are we
right.
done now then?
Yeah.
We need a beer. Can we go now?
Sophie, I gotta
We're
go.
having a beer. Sorry, guys. See you later.
Up the Arsenal. We're back.
Alex, what did you make of that? You're the only sober one in like among us watching this.
Yeah, it was difficult making any sense out of that clip. But I did hear you guys saying that you didn't really care about the result. It was just a beer and a laugh. Like, looking back after the game, do you think now maybe it's like it was a bit more important, especially for the players and the team, to get that win over Man City?
Trev.
Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right, Alex. I went in there quite light-hearted about the game. I genuinely did. I'm meeting the lads and I'm drunk, but it soon became apparent to me that as soon as we kicked off, you could see from the players on the field that it was a proper game. They were treating it as a proper game of football, and both sides were desperate to win that. And the more the game went on, the more interesting it got, because the reason it got more and more interesting was that we weathered an early storm from Man City. And then I thought for the last 50, 55 minutes, I thought we were the better side. And I thought we really played some exciting football. And it not only did it make me think then we're playing some exciting football, this is good. It G's you up for the season, doesn't it? Because if you can match a Man City team playing to their best with their best players, then you're gonna go into a season with some amount of confidence. So as the game went on, my view of the game changed and it became more and more important. And just before I go, Alex, before I stop and let the other boys answer, we've had the big question: is it a trophy? Isn't it a trophy? Is it a trophy? Isn't it a trophy? Let me flip the coin and look at it from another way, Alex. and then you can ask these boys what they thought of the game. To reach the Charity Shield final, it's not an invite. You have to play. You have to play more games than you do in the FA Cup and the league to get to the Charity Shield. You have to win most games in the league, or you have to win the FA Cup. And your reward for doing that is to play in the Charity Shield. So for me, it is a final, and it's worth calling it a trophy, because when you look at what you need to do to get there, it's almost as hard as winning the league to get to the Charity Shield, So, it's a trophy, and it goes down with me as a good win and a good day. Sorry, I've waffled on some, but that's what
I agree with you, Trev. Like, it is like an achievement getting there as well. But for me, like the main achievement was beating City and not actually winning the trophy. I think for me, like the most important thing was that we beat City and sort of overcome that mental block we've had beating them the last many years. We haven't won in the Premier League against them in 8 years. So I think next season it will be so crucial going up against them head to head that we can win at least one of them if we're looking to challenge for the title.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I was going to say to you,
could you pause talk?
I was going to say, Dan, we lost against City in all 3 games that we met them in last season. As Alex just said, we haven't beaten them in 8 years. How important was the Community Shield for you now, retrospectively, after that video? I know we went in there probably protecting ourselves in case we got battered.
Which was fair.
To be honest, I'd probably say my opinion hasn't changed, right? And I fully get your point. And to be fair, Trev, the comment you just made is the exact same conversation I've just had with other people, in that it isn't easy to win the Community Shield, because you either have to win the league, finish second, or win the FA Cup. And to do that isn't easy. And I'd probably put it above something like the League Cup in terms of difficulty of winning. So it certainly isn't easy, especially when you come up against a machine like Man City. But ultimately, it has always been the curtain raiser for the season, and it is, for me, a glorified friendly as such. It's something that has more importance than a friendly, of course, but ultimately has no bearing on the season. You can see Man City, the last few times they've played it, have lost it. And, they lost it last year, they went on to win the treble. So I don't think it's that important, but it could be important for us in terms of, as you said, the confidence it gives the team, confidence it gives the fans. And also, I think a key thing is, like you said, all 3 new guys started that game, and it just helps give them a bit of confidence that they're bedding into this team. And I think that's probably the reason why he went with Havertz over. I've done a Ferg. Havertz over Trossard. I think more about him bedding into the team, and also a little bit of what he gives us in terms of holding the ball up. So it's a confidence booster, and it's something that will hopefully give us a good boost going into the season, because I think we've probably needed a bit of a boost after the pre-season. It's not been the smoothest pre-season. And I felt a little bit like we picked up in pre-season where we left off last year. So it's just another step up ready for next week.
Trevor, the first 25 minutes, City seemed to dominate possession. And, there was a few incidents of some new rules that have come in with the PGMOL about trying to speed up the game, kicking the ball away, keepers keeping the ball for too long. Even Arteta got a card for some of the new rules. What did you make of that first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, where City seemed to dominate's probably strong, but definitely control the game more than us?
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth there, Fergus. I don't think the first 20 minutes are as bad as some pundits are making out. Yeah, we were on the back foot a bit, but I don't think we really, really struggled to control City. I think they came at us and we did well. We did what we had to do to hold them off, and then grew into the game. And so we weren't the best in the first 20 minutes, but we weren't really bad. We didn't look like we were going to get battered. I was still full of confidence that we were right in the game. And as for the new rules, Ferg, it's interesting. I've watched a bit of an interview from Pep today, saying that he thinks that all this extra time that's going to be added on is going to wear players out, and it's going to be hard work, and it's going to ruin the game. Well, I don't think Pep would have been saying that if it had been them that had scored a goal in the 101st minute, do you? I think it might have been the boot on the other foot, So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's brilliant. Keep adding that time on. Give us fair play, And the last thing Pep said was, how about the fans running late, getting home after games? And Sky have put this out. Sky have actually put this out, that Pep's saying it's going to make fans struggle to get home after games because it's gone on 10 minutes longer. What a load of old tosh! What a load of old tosh!
Well,
Sky,
if you
Sky put something like that out when they move games 200 miles up the country to a Monday night at 8 o'clock kickoff. That's what the fans don't like. You know,
to be honest, I'm thinking of Palace away in a few weeks' time. That's 8 o'clock. I know it's only South London, but it's one of the worst. It's easier to get back from Newcastle than it is from Crystal Palace. And when that game finishes at 10 past 10 with added time and everything else, it's going to be one hell of a run to try and get the last train out of Norwood to get home. Dan, 8 minutes in, Partey got a yellow card for kicking the ball away after conceding a free kick. And also 17 minutes in, Arteta got a yellow card for gesticulating with a yellow card to the referee, saying that Rodri should have got one. And in fairness, I make Arteta right, because Rodri done the exact same thing that Partey got booked for. What did you make of it? And what do you think of these new rules? They're changing the goal celebration from 30 seconds to 45 and so on.
I think they're probably needed, in all fairness. I do agree that the time wasting has been ridiculous, and the amount of time the ball is in play is needed something doing. The World Cup worked quite well for me in the time added on. You'll see a little, as a fan, you'll probably see a lot more drama as well in terms of late goals and a few more twists like we did yesterday. And without that, we don't get the goal yesterday. So but City are fantastic at breaking up play and doing the dirty side.
Who have they got on the wing, by the way? Who have they got on the wing? City. They won the league. Don't worry. Move on.
I'm not saying that live on camera, folks. I might end up with a lawsuit. City are good at doing the dirty side of the game, and I think that's what we're doing. But we don't tend to get away with it like City do, and I'm quite shocked if you look at the number of yellow cards we had compared to City, where I don't think we broke up play any different to them. So I'm not surprised that Arteta was frustrated. You do have to book someone if they're waving a yellow card around. You don't really want to see that in the game. So it is what it is. I think you've got to accept it and take it on the chin. And I think accept that Arteta is going to be getting quite a lot of those this year, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I think he needs to learn from it, and so do players. And I think, Alex, you put it in here, and you put it on the Gooner fanzine about the 3 things you learned about the game, about the changes in the rules. If you look at Partey getting a yellow card 8 minutes in the position he plays in, he's always going to put those hard tackles in, and those tackles where he's likely to get at least one yellow card in the game, and to get one that early on in the game for such a silly thing like kicking the ball away. Whilst it might be a good idea, it's dangerous, don't you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think we're going to see like a change in behavior in the players. I think in the beginning we'll see 10 minutes added on, 11 minutes added on, but as soon as the players like get onto it and realize it's just going to add on in the end, I think we'll see less minutes added on eventually when they change their behavior. And yeah, it did affect Partey's game yesterday, because when Foden spun him later on, he couldn't grab a yellow card, as he'd already been yellow carded for kicking the ball away. So they really got to grasp onto it quickly, these new rules, as it can be really costly if they don't do that. So yeah, we're gonna have to the players will have to adapt, and Arteta as well on the sideline. I hope he won't get robotic. I like him being animated on the touchline, but just none of this on the touchline.
Trev, of course, I've since, and you've since looked back, and all of us have looked back to the game on TV to try and get a better insight. Because where we were in that bleach white bit behind the goal. You could not see a thing. And how Ramsdale, when he nearly got chipped from the halfway line by Rodri, with the sun in his eyes, I didn't see much of the game due to alcohol and the sun. But Trev, Declan Rice played on front of us for the first time, because none of us were at the charity the Emirates Cup. He was playing in different positions. At first, he was in like a front 3 at one point, playing in the middle of that front 3, and later in the game, he was playing in the centre of the back 3. What did you make of Rice's performance overall?
Well, it was interesting because I saw more of the game than you, because I had the common sense to go like that, right? And it's massive help when you've got the sun coming down from above. You go like that and then you can see, mate. It's quite simple, really. I want to talk about Rice in a second, but I can't help but go back on what the lads have said about the time wasting, folks, because for me, it's the three things I hate in the football game at the moment is showing a fake card, really annoys me, right? Players faking injury, right? And then time wasting by kicking the ball away. They're the three things that annoy me, and they were clamped down on yesterday. And it's the big word we've used in previous seasons, Fergus, and it's very important. If that's going to happen, that's fantastic, but it's got to happen consistently. I thought we saw a bit of inconsistency yesterday, but it's got to happen across every league game in the Premier League every week, and that is the important thing. I don't think we've got good enough referees to do it, but I hope I'm really wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong.
Before you move on to Rice, just on that very point, if you watch ITV's coverage yesterday, I think it was Lee Dixon was the Arsenal co-commentator. And he saw the way Partey got booked. And later in the second half, there was a very similar tackle made by a Manchester City player. I think it might have been Rodri again. And he said, oh, that's all right. You might have seen that as a yellow card in the first half, but because of the second half, it's all about the referee managing the game. My arse, I'm sorry,
Nonsense.
It's about absolutely nonsense. It's all about consistency, Trev.
It is. There was a hint. I'm sure that there was a hint of sarcasm in Lee Dixon's.
It didn't sound like it.
Absolutely right, Fergus. Absolutely right. And you know, if by 1,000,000 to 1 chance a referee or two get to hear about this, that's all we ask for as fans, isn't it? Brilliant, brilliant. Play all the time in the game. Play the wasted time. Play the goal celebration time. Please play the faking injury time. Because how much game time do we lose to that? But most importantly, do it consistently. Do it across the board. Do it at every game so it works. So us fans haven't got nothing to get on your back about. Going on to Rice, Fergus. Now, I mean, I was a bit blurred at the game yesterday, but I've watched it back today. And I thought that Rice was a big part of us coming into the game after the first 20, 25, even 30 minutes. Because I thought he dropped deeper. He even went as part. He was even the deepest player on the field for Arsenal at times, and I thought that allowed us to pick the ball up and move it out of back quicker. And I honestly thought that it was a big game changer. Rice being given the freedom to move about. That's how I saw it anyway, mate.
Dan, what did you make of Rice's performance then?
To be honest,
Dale gives you a message, by the way.
The people I've spoken to about Rice have said they wasn't that impressed with him, but I actually think he covered ground on the pitch very, very well, and I think he did the side of the game that goes unnoticed. I don't think he's going to ever sit in the pivot and be the six as such. I don't think that suits his game. I don't think he's good enough to get on the ball and to play those passes and on the half turn like Partey does. I think he'll be a bit further up in where we saw the Xhaka role. But what I think we did see yesterday is that if someone gets out of position, Rice can cover and get back. And he can be up and down the pitch a lot more like a box-to-box midfielder. And I think you'll see Partey and Rice near enough like a little double pivot where one goes, one sits, the other goes, the other one sits. And they'll take on more of a partnership as they play more together. I think that will be the preferred selection from Arteta, if I'm totally honest. He may go with someone like a Havertz instead of Rice at like a home game against a team with a low block where we need to break them down. But in most games, I think that will be our best 11.
Alex, just before we ask your opinion on Rice, let's have a quick look at this video clip. I'll just turn the audio off, and if you just want to talk through it, because if we leave the audio on, we're bound to get done by YouTube.
Yeah, this is exactly what Dan just mentioned. The mobility it gives us in the midfield, the tracking back. And you could hear a huge roar from the crowd when he tracked back and won the ball there. And I think that's what he offers compared to someone like Xhaka, not bashing his game in any sense, but he gives us a lot more mobility than Xhaka. And towards the end of the last season, we were playing with Jorginho and Xhaka, and I think yesterday just proved how much mobility is needed when you play against teams like Manchester City. Having players like Partey and Rice who can track back and cover for when people are out of position. So I think that will help us so much this season. And I agree. Like, I think they'll form a good partnership in the double pivot Partey and Rice. So I'm excited to see that next season.
So 25 minutes in, Saliba puts White through on the right flank, and he puts a cross in for Havertz. And I think it came a little bit behind Havertz. I'll start with you, Dan. Should Havertz have done better on that one? And then also talk about, because we'll look at players rather than the whole game line by line. Also look at the second opportunity he had as well, which for me, I think he definitely should have put away.
He definitely should have finished at least one of them, if not both. I think a potent striker puts them away. But I think he has a lot more to his game in terms of having his back to goal and holding the ball up. And I think he was very good yesterday when he had to be physical. And it's not really something I would have thought would have been the top of his game. Certainly not an attribute that someone that could play in the hole normally has. He's not a natural centre forward as such. It's not where he's played all of his life. I know he's played it recently, but for him to have that ability to hold the ball up is something a bit unique for his type of player, which I think is what Arteta likes in him as well. And he's a good option. I think other than Jesus, I do think he's probably going to be our next best in that position. He just needs to improve his finishing, but that could be said about many, many players in our team. I think the only one at the moment who looks like he can score goals so far is Trossard. And probably the only other player that could challenge him for that centre-forward role instead of Jesus, really.
Trev, what were your thoughts on Havertz? And you go on the Twitter sphere and you go on some WhatsApp groups and such mixed views. The idiot critics are out already with the knives out. I think it's a bit harsh too soon. Take yourself off mute, mate.
The first one of the season.
You've done it again, Fergus. It's too soon to judge any of our new signings properly. We all know they take times to bed in. 10 seconds on Rice. I can't see where all the bad words about Rice are coming from, apart from West Ham fans who are a bit jealous. I thought that Rice did all right yesterday. I thought he covered the ground well, and I thought he carried us nicely in the midfield, and he'll only get better. As for Havertz, I'm starting to get the impression, that Havertz is maybe a bit of a confidence player, Maybe he needs to, once he scores a goal or two, you'll see him get a bit more confident and shine. He just gives me that impression. The first chance, it was behind him, wasn't it? So we can leave him be for that. And the second chance, he snatched that a bit. You'd expect him to do better. But I honestly think that if he gets okay and gets one or two, then he'll be on a roll. And we need him to be on a roll, don't we? Because if Odegaard or Saka or Martinelli's goals dry up, it's hard to see where we're going to come from. So we need Havertz scoring a few goals. And I'm sure he will, to be honest. I think he'll come good, Ferg.
I will add one more thing. I can't get it out of my head. All I've had in my head all day is
I couldn't get the words of that one. It's too quick for me.
It's definitely going to be the new one for Havertz. I can't get it out of my head.
All right. The one the Voulez-Vous one for Saka I really liked. So and that's going to go. And also the one that we saw on Twitter, which I tagged you in, was the Declan Rice and he's pissed off Danny Dyer. I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
So into the halftime break, it's 0-0, and Arsenal's expected goal, I don't understand this XG sort of thing, but the expected goal was 0.84 rather than City's 0.05. So according to that, we're saying that we offered the more potent goal threat. I'm not really... Alex, do you want to expand on that?
No, I just included to sort of show that they did control most of the possession in the first half, and especially the first 25 minutes, but they didn't really create any chances. We were the team who created the better chances, and Haaland didn't really get a sniff.
No.
Saliba kept in well quiet in his pocket. So I think I was very optimistic going into the first half, and I think City were the team that kind of needed the halftime break. But I don't know, what were you guys' thoughts heading into the break?
Trev?
Do you know what came to my mind? The last game I can remember going 0-0 against Chelsea, we gave 3 goals in the second half away. He's so bloody rude talking over people, and even when he can't talk, he still does it. Look at him. But yeah, so I was hoping we wouldn't give silly goals away second half, and the opposite happened. The exact opposite happened. We came into the game more and more, didn't we? So yeah. And by the way, Haaland went off for one reason and one reason only. Kevin hit it on the head there. Haaland went off because he weren't getting a kick. That was the only reason Haaland went off. Haaland was not getting a kick of the ball. And I think, right, these Premier League managers, they're clever people. They're the best coaches in the world, these Premier League managers and coaches. And they'll have watched Haaland last season, and they'll have different game plans to play against Haaland this year. And Haaland is going to have a very difficult season. He's going to have to pick it up somewhere, because yesterday he didn't get a sniff against our lad.
Dan, Saliba had Haaland virtually in his pocket, and Haaland is a beast, okay? We've all seen how tall, how broad, he's 6 foot, I don't know what, but standing where we were behind the goal, and you could see, I remember seeing an image of Saliba right behind Haaland and just keeping him like touch close. And I looked at him and went, there's not much in height, but what Saliba has got on him is broadness, and he's just huge in comparison to Haaland.
He's also got recovery to his game as well, and it's what we were saying last year, and myself mainly criticising Rob Holding. It's not that some of the there's a few players that could come in and play that role and be nowhere near him, and it isn't because they're awful players. It's because Saliba is just so good that he makes such a big difference. And even if he does get caught out of position or he does get turned, he's got the pace to recover as well. And he brings us to another level. It's that sort of player is what turns you in a top 4 team into a championship competing side. And he's got the ability to do that for us for many, many years. Alongside, I must say, another brilliant performance yesterday from Timber. I thought he was fantastic. And defensively as a unit, I thought we were great yesterday. We're never going to be the team that's going to probably dominate Man City overall in the game. But I thought the game was a typical Community Shield game where you get the top 2 teams come together. It's very cagey. It's very close, fine margins. And ultimately that was what decided it. It was a penalty shootout in the end of the day that decided it. So we're not that far off of City, to be honest. And it's like Saliba that's helped us close the gap.
I honestly believe that we're not far off, and I actually disagree with you in the sense of saying that it was just a typical Community Shield game for me. For me, I actually thought it was one of the more competitive Community Shield games I've seen for a long, long time. I thought Pep came out and actually wanted to make a statement, as did Arteta, and I think it was a little bit more. It was very much more like a Premier League game. It didn't feel like a pre-season friendly on steroids sort of thing. But you are right to mention Timber, which we will talk about. And also a shout out for Gabriel. Again, just as you said, the defensive unit that we were defensively as a team, I thought you can go anywhere back from the halfway line. But Martinelli was in our back, tracking back in the game as well. So the whole team as a unit move forward together, move back together. Second half,
I think that reminded me a little bit of the old Arsenal Man United days a little bit in the
yes,
field. And that's what I meant by in terms of that sort of close cagey affair, because in recent seasons, I agree, other teams have not quite been like that. But from when we was in the Community Shield and the games that we've had, there was that edge to the game where the players wanted to set the tone, I think, for the start of the season with each other. And that that rivalry with Arsenal, Man United, where no one wanted to lose to each other, it felt a little bit like that.
Yeah. So we went into the second half, and City probably dominated most of the possession, I suppose, for parts in the second half. That young Palmer was brought on, who I thought was absolutely outstanding. They've lost Mahrez, Man City, but they seem to have found a young talent from their academy pool in Palmer. What did you make of Palmer and Foden's contribution to the City game, Alex?
Yeah, I think they really changed the game when both De Bruyne, Foden, and Palmer came on. I thought they were being much more direct, and that was before he scored. He had a very similar chance as well, where Timber blocked his shot off on the right flank. But yeah, I thought they looked better actually when Haaland came off and they came on, which was a bit surprising. But yeah, I think we struggled a bit more in the second half. I think Saka, he looked quite tired in the second half. And City, they had quite a few chances, especially after their first goal as well. Ramsdale had to do very well on 2 saves, keeping us in the game. But yeah, I think they changed the game for me. The 3 City substitutions, and that's what got them their goal. I don't know if we should go over the goal now. We might as well.
Not quite yet. I just want to, because before the goal, because we made some substitutions that impacted on that goal. So before we go now, I want to get Trevor's opinion on Jurrien Timber, a player that we signed that can play centre, well, basically cover for Saliba. He can do right back, but we're playing him left back. And he had an outstanding game. I think he was absolutely fantastic. But does he now hold that berth in left back? What happens to Zinchenko? What happens to Tierney? And what did you think of his performance, Trev?
I thought that it's interesting because you've spoken about the back unit, and I thought that Timber was exceptional for a young man that's only playing his second game for the side and playing against a top Premier side that are coming at him. I thought he was exceptional, looked very comfortable. The thing I like about all of our back 4, because James Powell's hit the nail on the head here. We're not mentioning Ben White much either. And for me, you could have given the man of the match to a few people, but I thought Ben White was my man of the match. I gave him the man of the match. So what I like about our back 4 at the moment, all 4 of them that played yesterday, is that they never look flustered. They don't seem to panic on the ball. And the reason they're not panicking on the ball or looking flustered is, I think, because they've all got time to get back and cover, and they've all got time. Saliba is so quick on his feet for a big lad. Timber was the same yesterday. Ben White was doing it all last season. I thought he was exceptional. And Gabriel, I think, fits that nicely. So I thought that Timber had a great debut, but I thought he had a great debut in a great back 4 yesterday. I love their calmness.
I think that calmness probably comes from Saliba. Dan, what did you make of Timber? He played 76 minutes, 2 clearances, 1 block shot, 2 interceptions, 1 tackle, 92% pass accuracy, and completed like 50% of his dribbles, whatever that means. I know Trevor completed at least 100% of his dribbles and didn't miss a drop off beer.
Well, he's nearly got as good dribbling stats as Harry Kane, hasn't he? But he's he had a good performance, I think, yesterday overall, and it's nice to see that we've got another option now, that someone like Timber can come into that inverted role and play in the middle, because that's the biggest worries when Zinchenko isn't there, is who's going to be able to do that role. I know there's been lots of comments about maybe Ben White could do it. I still think Ben White, that's not his role and not what he's good at. Tierney, I think, struggles there. Tomiyasu, I don't think he's that sort of player. So we don't really have many options, or we didn't have many options for Zinchenko when he was out injured, or if we needed to rest him. So we've now got 2 players that can do that. We've also got a player that can now play on the right-hand side as well and do that role. So someone like Kieran Tierney could come in and I think get the best out of Tierney in a different role that's not inverted. So we've got good options. And, when we're playing twice a week now for most of the season and not in games where you can rest players like we did in the Europa League, we're going to need that. But I think, a bit like how we have recently with new signings, Arteta will stick with his tried and tested team, but he will gradually bring in the new signings and bed them in, and then they'll get that starting berth. And I think Timber will be a player that starts in our best 11 sort of midway through the season. You'll see that he's the nailed-on player, because he's just a step above the others in terms of being on the ball and how he progresses the ball out from the back. So I would probably right now say, of all the signings we've made, he's the best signing that we've made.
Your Timber.
Yeah.
Alex, what's your thoughts on that? And
call with Saliba in the shot. It's a massive call with Saliba in the shot. Mind you, isn't it great to have those options? Sorry, Ferg. Go on. Sorry.
Alex, what's your thoughts on Timber being the signing of Arteta's reign, and his replacement? He was substituted by Kieran Tierney in his performance, and leading up to that goal that you were going to talk about. Because for me, I think Tierney was, at fault is too strong of a word, but I think he was slightly culpable because the way he cleared the ball and the ball came back at him, and he was caught off his footing. Before you answer that, we're at 889 subscribers on YouTube. I know we got quite a few people watching tonight. We'd love if you jumped on. I know some are watching on Facebook and Twitter and everything else. You get a minute, just go over to Guns and Yellow Ribbons YouTube, click on the like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000, and we'd really appreciate it. Alex, go on.
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with Dan on everything he said about Timber. I think he's a brilliant signing, and could be the signing of Arteta's reign, especially when you look at the price we got him for, which was 34 million quid. I would have been happy if we would have paid 50 for him, 55. I think it's incredible value with the experience he already has, and the how versatile he is. And just how well he fits our system, the way Arteta wants to play. And yeah, I think one of the things he did very well was his defending. Like he defended Bernardo Silva so well. There was loads of times where he was isolated, one against one out on the right flank, and he just closed him down completely. And then as soon as he went off. They scored from sort of that position, not to fault Tierney too much, because leading up to the goal, Partey did get done quite badly in midfield by Foden, and sort of nearly ran the length of the pitch. And then, of course, Tierney, I mean, it was 1 minute after he came on the pitch, so he might not have been totally ready, just lost his footing. And then Palmer, I mean, he still had to do quite a lot of work with that finish. That was a brilliant finish. Can't really fault Ramsdale too much for that either. That was just a really good goal. You asked quite a lot of questions. I can't remember what.
But fundamentally, it was about Tierney coming on to replace Timber, and then the goal, which you've covered all the questions. You're getting good at this. You should do this more often. You should. You know what you should do? You should actually go and maybe write an article or write stuff for maybe the Gooner fanzine or something like that.
Good idea. I'll look into that.
To be honest, I think you should just replace Fergus, the host.
At least I've got a voice.
Well, he virtually has today anyway. He's written all this stuff, which has really helped. So if anybody thinks this is a really better podcast than we normally do, one, we're all on water and not on beer, and two, Alex wrote all the notes, so it made it much, much better. So we went into the game, 87 minutes on, we made substitutions. We brought on Trossard, Tierney. Eddie came on, despite John Malone not wanting him anywhere near the club. We've seen your comment in the chat, John. Eddie came on, and, it was a complete change in lineup, because we were taking... I can't remember who came off for Eddie, but it was a defensive player that came on. It was Rice. Rice came off for Eddie, and it was like it was proved that it was a very attacking move, and that Arteta was out to try and win this game. We went into it. There was 8 added minutes, Trev, and we got quite excited and animated, the fan base, and you could hear the crowd. And to be honest, the Arsenal faithful. I knew we were allowed in there because my ears were ringing for about an hour as we came back. I didn't hear the City fans while we were there. And on the TV, I heard them once in 50 minutes go Blue Moon, and then they couldn't go shh, shh, shh. But the Arsenal fans really rose up for the last 8 minutes, and it got extended by another 6 or 7 minutes because of the Partey head clash. Go on, Trev. What were your thoughts leading into that last bit of extra time?
Firstly, I thought that Tierney was unlucky. I'm not going to go into it anymore, but I did think Tierney was a bit unlucky. Going into the extra time, you could tell how well we'd played in the game because the Arsenal fans still, every Arsenal fan to a man thought that we could still come back into that game. We were right in it, and the extra time was going to give us an opportunity to that we wouldn't have had if they hadn't have played the new rules to try and get back into it. I agree with you, Ferg. I had to listen to it back on the telly today because I didn't hear the City fans sing once in the ground, and I thought, well, it must be just because the Arsenal fans.
Where we were, that's right. Yeah, I thought it was because where we were.
But listening back, they were non-existent. It was embarrassing for them. I've seen a Man City fan put an excuse on social media today saying that it wasn't their real fans. Their real fans weren't going to do another trip to London for a pointless trophy. I've never heard so much baloney in all my life. Trust me. That's the fans Man City have got. You know, that's if they're going to get 30-odd thousand to travel to a ground, they're going to have to get all these tourists in to take the seats. I just thought that the Man City fans were bad, and they should stand up and accept it. But the Arsenal fans, how good. When you see, Wembley's a stadium where it's difficult for them all to get singing together because half the Arsenal fans are singing one song and half the Arsenal fans are singing another song, you know, because it's vast. But when they actually got it together, especially in that extra time, and started singing all 30,000 at once, it sent a shiver down your spine. It was that good, the support. It was that good. And it was acknowledged by the players and by Mikel Arteta again. So we were a massive part again, the players, the fans yesterday, a massive part. And you wonder if the fans are not that loud going into the 110th minute, if the fans are not giving them that backing, do the players still get that lift? Or do the players back off like the fans do? So if the fans actually help score that goal, I would say yes. Definitely. Being that good, that late in the game. So proud of the Arsenal fans and so proud of the players for keeping going. And yeah, we got a bit of luck. I know we're going to talk about it now. We got a bit of luck, but we deserved a bit of luck, you know? So, yeah.
Dan, we got a bit of luck. We lost our voices, being some of that 12th man as well, singing and screaming and shouting and everything else. But Trossard, our Belgian player, is going to be hugely influential in this league title race or challenge. You know, with all this added time that we talked about that's going to be in games. Late substitutions. When do you bring on a sub? Are you going to bring a sub on at 80 minutes now rather than the old 68 minutes sort of thing? Because you know there's going to be 10 or 15 minutes, and the likes of Trossard will rotate with Jesus and so on later in the season. What did you make of that? It was going nowhere near goal. It was a Kanji that it took a really wicked deflection off, and we went mad. We went mad.
Honestly, he's the one player that I think is really knocking on the door of that team, and he's probably one of the players that I think is very unlucky not to be starting week in, week out, because he's had a fantastic pre-season, but he hasn't put a foot wrong since he's joined the club. And I would go as far as saying he's probably really, really pushing Martinelli for that left-sided spot at the minute. And it's just so nice to be able to have players that can just come in seamlessly straight into the team. But what he does also is he's two-footed. He can go either side. And I know you say we got a bit of luck with the deflection, which we did, but he creates that by cutting in on his left-hand side and then having a shot. And that's one thing we've often lacked around the box, is a player that's willing to take on a shot. And if you don't shoot, you don't get the deflection and you don't get the goal. Likewise, if you've got a player that's one-footed, he's not going to cut inside onto his other foot and shoot, or he can go both sides, and it's just another thing that how do you defend against a player that can go both sides? So for me, like he's earned that goal. Yes, lucky with a deflection, but he's definitely earned that goal.
Alex, your thoughts on the goal, and then we go into the penalties.
Yeah, I agree. Like you got to seek out the luck, and Trossard did that. He's got that killer instinct. As soon as he gets some space, he just shoots. And I saw someone on Twitter saying that Trossard reminded him of Cazorla. I don't know how much I think, but definitely in terms of the two-footed, he's really, really good on both feet. And the thing I like about him is when he gets substituted into games, he's just ready straight away. Usually players will have to take 5-10 minutes to settle into the game. But when he gets subbed on, he's just ready straight away. So that's going to be crucial throughout the season with the added on time and the late subs and everything. But yeah, I was buzzing when the goal went in, and you could hear the roar from the crowd as well. That was double the noise that the City fans made when they scored. So that was just it was just fantastic.
The stats at full time was a pretty even game, 45% possession to Arsenal and 55 to City. We had 7 and 8 shots respectively, 3 and 4 respectively on target. So it was a pretty even game. We went into the penalties. And Dan, De Bruyne, who else? Some of the penalties that City took were absolutely shocking.
Yeah, I mean the De Bruyne one, I guess, was unlucky because he hit the crossbar. The Rodri one, I think, was poor, but then it's nice to see Aaron save another penalty. That's 2 he saved now in recent weeks, so hopefully that'll give him a confidence boost. But I think that's a player as well that we've not really touched on. I think Ramsdale had a very good game and made some very good saves yesterday in key moments, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he's putting a performance like that after we've been heavily linked to signing another goalkeeper. And I think that's what potentially signing someone like David Raya would do, is to push him on even further to the next level. So big performance from him as well. And that's what we need. We need a goalkeeper that can save us in those moments, because, when we went 1-0 down, we could have quite easily gone 2 and 3, but he kept us in the game. And then when we had a chance, we took it.
He did make a couple of risky moves at points in the game where he took the ball across the face of goal and stuff like that, which is a goalkeeping golden rule you should never do. There's a couple of...
You've got to expect that, though. I think if you get David Raya, that's happening more times than what Ramsdale does. I think that's just you see the likes of Alisson. Remember how many times he's had it and just cleared it off his own goal line, and same with Ederson.
It's more, I suppose it's these more ball-playing goalkeepers, isn't it? And probably more than anything else.
Risks. It's more, I think, about being level-headed with Aaron. I think he needs... It's still a bit of maturity. Goalkeepers, they say, don't mature until they're well in their 30s. Outfield players mature around 28, goalkeepers even later. So he's only a very, very young goalkeeper still. He will get better the more he learns from mistakes. But yeah, he just needs someone, I think, to push him. A bit of concentration.
Talking about maturity, Trevor, what were your thoughts on the penalty shootouts?
Yeah, well, I did, after they missed the first one, I didn't think we looked like losing it, to be honest. I was quietly confident that we would be better. I'm just spend 5 minutes for once in my life listening to you boys then. And it's really interesting what we say, I honestly think, especially after watching the performance of Saliba yesterday, that injuries cost us that league last season. I think if Saliba stays fit, we win the league. I honestly do. And so then you've just been talking about, injuries and players coming in, Ramsdale with the Raya thing. And you think in your head about what happens if someone gets injured. If we sign Raya and Ramsdale gets injured, we don't worry too much, do we? We've got 2 top quality keepers. If we lose a defender or even 2 defenders at the moment, we should be all right. You know what I mean? We should be all right. We've got some cover. I worry about if Rice or Partey get injured, if I'm honest. I'm not quite sure where we cover there if Rice or Partey get injured. And then I'd like to see us sign a proper centre forward. A proper centre forward that, as Dan rightly said, is going to be part of the rotation. Because we've got more football to play this year than we have in many years, haven't we? We've got charity. We've got Champions League. We've got the league. We've got the League Cup. And we've got the FA Cup. And all the players that are in that squad are going to get used plenty this season. Plenty. But I feel much better with where we are now than where we were last season, when I reckon myself that injury to Saliba cost us a league, or getting a lot closer in the league.
So I think interesting stat. Go on, Trev, carry on.
I think it's good that we signed Raya. I think I'd love to see us sign another midfielder, and I'd love to see us sign a centre forward. Maybe a centre forward that's not going to play every week. Maybe one that's going to come in when we need a bit of a change, But I do worry about them. But back four, goalkeeper, we could lose a goalkeeper and 2 defenders, and I'd still be confident that we could put out a top quality Premier League defence there.
No, I agree. I think we're looking more depth, but just be finishing off on the penalties. An interesting stat that was looked at here was the penalty times, how long it took players by the time the referee whistled to the moment they took their penalty. Alex, what's your thoughts on that? And then we'll finish up on the game.
Yeah, it just seems like it's something they've really worked on throughout the pre-season as well. I think Arteta's insisted that we've had to have a penalty shootout after most of the games. So it's definitely something he's wanting to practice, and it seems like it paid off because they just seem to have like a more methodical approach to the penalty compared to the City players. And you could see that in the times as well. They took around 7 seconds before taking the penalty compared to the City players who all just kicked it straight away. So I mean, it's fine margins, and you got to take all the small gains you can get, and I think that's what he's looking to do with the penalties, Arteta. Yeah, I saw a comment about Vieira's penalty, which was very good. I must admit, I was a bit worried when he stepped up because he really scuffed one of them in the preseason, and he has got on to a bit of a rocky start to his Arsenal career. So I was very pleased for him to see that go in. I think he can play a good part in next season as well. I think he looked pretty good when he came on yesterday, and hopefully he can build towards getting better and better and sort of rekindle his relationship to some of the Arsenal fans who's been a bit hard on him.
To be honest, I think it was a big confidence booster for many players, including the likes of Havertz and so on, to get some minutes. Overall, I think it was a positive, clearly a positive result, but a positive outcome for the club in more ways than one. Mikel Arteta picks up the Charity Shield, that Community Shield, yet again. Arsenal are Community Shield winners of 2023. And even Getty Images, they put stuff up. Apparently, if anybody does want this, you can go on to Getty Images and you can get I don't know how big a large photo is, but I expect it would have to be quite large. But £375, isn't it, Trev?
Look at the belly on me. It'd have to be large, wouldn't it? Jesus Christ. I've started a diet today. I've started a diet today. I'm done with it all. But people have been very good.
He started a diet this morning with 2 sausages, 2 bacon, fried eggs, tomatoes and mushrooms.
You'd have given me more if I'd have had it. You'd have given me more if I'd have had it. But no, people have been very friendly to me on Twitter today. I've expected some serious foul play to be happening, and I would have took it on the chin with a smile. But people have been not complimentary, but they've not hit me too hard today. So, and that was one that Fergus took. He wanted to lick my belly button, but I threatened to punch his lights out. So,
I tell you what, who is a tats man? Martin Odegaard. When he was doing it, if you can look at this picture, go onto the Arsenal Instagram, you'll see it. Trevor's down here in the corner, just there, I think, in the middle of the screen, and it's that photograph. But yeah, what a good day out! What a good day out! Kevin's just been a little bit sick in his mouth.
Do you know what? You can sum up yesterday in a paragraph, really, a short paragraph. Yesterday was great for the fans, great for the players, great for the manager, and great for the club. We all gained out of it, We all gained out of it.
Yeah, I'm just putting some pictures up of the day that we had at Wembley, which was absolutely a fantastic day all round. A couple of other housekeeping things, I suppose, more than anything. We talked about Raya possibly coming in. It looks like we're trying to finalise a final fee with Brentford, and it looks like we've probably done a deal for Matt Turner. 7 million, I think, is the initial fee, going up to 10 to 15 million. If we get 10 million, we've got 50% extra. I think we paid 7.5 million from, so we're getting our money back at least on the player. Gary Wood.
Gary, you're worrying me a little bit, son. You're worrying me a little bit.
I think we covered nearly everything in your piece that you done for the Gooner fanzine. 3 things we learned about the Community Shields, because we talked about it's more than things are more important than a trophy, which is the head thing about getting something over Man City, the best support that you've ever witnessed in your lifetime, both on TV and in person, and all about the new rules as well. So if anybody doesn't subscribe to the Gooner fanzine, help out Lathe and the whole team over there. They're doing this at a loss at the minute. So for 20 or 30 quid, get your subscription in for a year and you get your 4 magazines and some great stuff on there from genuine Arsenal fans, including Alex ourselves, who's going to be doing more throughout the year, and he's going to be working closely with Lathe, and I think you might even be getting into the press box at some point, hopefully this year as well, Alex.
Yeah, that's the plan to cover hopefully one of the Carabao games over there. So fingers crossed that that gets to happen. But yeah, I'll be doing regular player ratings and a little reflective piece for most games where I'm not going, obviously. So next weekend I will be going, so there won't be anything there. But look out for the most games this season.
Okay. Yeah. The Premier League is back on Saturday. Well, it's back on Friday, back on Saturday. Early kickoff for us, Trev. We don't really like this 12:30 kickoff as a first, although I think my insides might like it this week.
I'm the same, Ferg. I'm having a beer-free game this weekend. I'll be down there early to have a look at the statue and get in the ground. And then straight after the game, I'm off home. I promised the missus a takeaway at 5:30. So that's my day planned out. It's I don't like these early kickoffs, lives far away, obviously, but we'll take it on the chin and we'll hammer. We will absolutely hammer Forest on Saturday. We'll come with predictions in a bit, but don't give me no rubbish about Forest getting a point or anything. I won't stand for it. By the way, if you can't subscribe to the Gooner, just go and see them. They're outside Arsenal Tube Station every game. They're often up by Bear Roundabout. Lathe himself works his nuts off trying to keep the Gooner going. You'll hear them, get your Gooner. Even if you don't buy it every week, just buy it once every other issue or something. Just keep it. It's a great fanzine. Deserves to be kept going. And Lathe worked so hard on it. The boy deserves a medal and he deserves to get a bit of success.
Dan,
what's
Forest on... Theo's vision of sand has just been destroyed.
Come on, Andrew.
Is he running on the wing? Right, I don't know how to follow up that one. Dan, early kickoff. We're going to meet up outside the Wenger statue, try and meet up and get in there. Get the crowd going. I know we tried in Wembley, but it was just a bit of a crossover mishmash, and there was fans that weren't there all the time, and different sort of. It didn't gel 100%. It got noisy, but not as noisy as it gets in the respective ends. We're there on Saturday. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, God, that didn't come out, did it? His voice is getting worse. Hopefully, it's recovered by the weekend. It needs to. But yeah, God, I really can't speak. I definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, I don't think it works. Definitely looking forward to the weekend. I think obviously clearly Trev's not going to have his 2 beers. So if anyone else wants to have a beer, come meet me at 8 a.m. I'll gladly come meet you in the morning for a bit of beer over me porridge.
Give us a match prediction score-wise against Forest then.
5-0.
5-0. Alex, we'll be having breakfast up the road in the calf and getting there early enough. So what's your prediction? Pissed by 12? Oh, sorry, score prediction, sorry.
11.
11.
No, I'm optimistic as the boys are as well. Hopefully a big win to start off the season. I'll go 5-1 then. Loads of
Trev,
goals.
what are we going for?
Mate, I'm going for 5. I'm going 5-0. 5-0 to the Arsenal. We're that good. We will turn teams like Forest over this season.
I'm going to go for 3-0. I'm with having Saliba, with having Ben White, with Timber and Gabriel, who was cool as a cucumber. Gabriel is much better with Saliba beside him as well. He seems to keep his head more focused. I think we will keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go for 3-0 because, goals are harder to come by than just giving 5s and 6s, and Arnie with 7-0. Before we finish up, I just want to play this from Box Park. That was sung twice at Wembley. Once while you guys were having a beer. I was down earlier than you guys. Sung before the game, just before the anthems, and then when we won the game, and to hear 34,000 in unison singing in Wembley, it was immense. Trev, wasn't it?
It was very special, very special. That song, it's now starting to get known, you see, as the Arsenal anthem by other clubs and on the television. They mentioned it today on Sky, the singing of the Arsenal anthem. And so it's growing all the time, and we needed it so badly. Something that we all get together and sing before the game. And it just sends a chill down my spine. It makes me want to cry. I don't know why I want to cry, but I'm so proud of Louis for writing it. A couple of Ben Bennett was pushing it along with a couple of other lads. The Arsenal have adopted it, and we all sing it. Perfect.
Guys, thank you very much as always for joining us. As I said to people earlier, we've had quite a lot of people viewing. Thank you very, very much. This is our regular slot. It'll be Monday, 7:00, unless, of course, we're playing on a Monday, which will then move to a Wednesday because we won't be playing in Champions League if we're playing on a Monday night. So Monday, 7:00 is our slot. If you like what we do, please, I know you're watching on Facebook and Twitter and listening back on audio, please do take a moment just to go to YouTube, click on the like and subscribe, and we'd like to get to that 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully by the end of this month will be perfect. I keep on setting a deadline. I've given up setting a deadline, but I'd love it if you could do it, people. Alex, see you Friday, mate. Pick you up from the airport and cold beers. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Dan, I will put that public warning up for people. I know you've got lighting issues, but do not adjust your settings. He is a ginger with a tan. Dan, thanks very much, mate.
You are relentless, Fergus.
It's all right. He's just jealous. He can't look as good as this, so
Dan, he's jealous. He's undoubtedly jealous. He's undoubtedly.
He slags off you for your godlike body, and he also slags off my tan. But never mind.
There you go.
We still love him for some reason.
Hit the nail on the head, son. Hit the nail on the head. But I just want to reiterate what my very good friend Fergus said then. If you can just go across to YouTube and subscribe to us, if we get to 1,000 subscribers, it allows Fergus to do a little bit more playing around with the show. We don't make any money out of it. We don't. We never will. We're not after money in this game. I'm an old man and I come on here to talk football with my mates, and that's what it'll always be for me. I'll never make a penny out of this. Getting that 1,000 subscribers just helps Fergus. Fergus puts in a lot of hours every week planning this, or that's what he tells me anyway. I think it's
Alex did this week.
He just outsources it now to Alex.
Alex messaged me earlier and told him it took 5 minutes. Told me it took 5 minutes to put that running order together.
Nasty.
And it was better than yours, Fergus.
It was really good, actually. You've got the job. Factor 500, Dan. Gotta love our people in the chat.
Stop digging me out. You're all jealous.
Look, listen to everybody. I can't name you all in the chat, but lots of regular people in there. Thanks very much for joining us. You have been watching Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Up the Arsenal.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.